Hey everybody, it is qcknd and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome in general. Thanks for joining me today for an episode of Retails from the Crypt. This series is loosely based off of my series called The X-Files, where I talked about like dating fails that I had, and today I want to talk about kind of like retail fails that I've had and retail experiences that I have gained over the length of my life. And I don't know if they've hardened me into the soulless, calloused foot I am today, but I definitely have quite an index of stories, all from food retail to clothing. Today we are going to get into some of my favorites, and this is nothing about the employer that I had. You know, I generally liked the jobs I had, you know, until they came crashing to an end. But so this is nothing about those companies, so no diss. I'm gonna talk about Target today, and Target, I love you. I will delete this video for sponsorship. So the first thing I'm going to talk about today is going to be an incident I had when I was a lifeguard. And I used to be a lifeguard, and that's kind of a little loose term. Like, I do call myself a lifeguard when I think about that time in my life, but I worked at like a kayak swan boat rental. This area of Philadelphia has kind of been like revamped and rebranded, and all of us were kind of fired, and our like little company was dissolved and now does something else. And I didn't pursue like continuing working for them, but I did work for them for I believe 3 summers. And there was one summer, you know, I was on the dock, and the lifeguard kind of person sits in a kayak on the water, and then one person sits in the ticket booth, which is kind of a little ways away, and then one person sits on the dock to like help people if they getting out in and out of the boats, stuff like that. Sitting on the dock's kind of the chillest job. You could put your feet in the water, you could chill even harder than that. Usually we would eat trail mix, but sitting in the kayak arguably is one of the cooler jobs too. A little sunburn, but it's still some supreme chillin'. If you ever get the opportunity to work in a job that I just described, take it. It was awesome. It was like the Parking Lot movie, but like on water. I love that movie. So there were always times throughout the season where, you know, we would get like 2 customers a day, or it would be lit up. Like during Pride, it was always really sick. You know, people would go out there with their flags and be like, lesbians! And they would be pedaling on a swan boat, and you'd be like, yeah, I got trail mix on the dock. But there was one night in particular that these 2 women had just come from what seems like a local bar, and there was not many attractions where the swan boat rental was. Like I said, since then, and that was years ago, the area has kind of been revamped, but back then there was nothing there. And if you didn't read about it in the newspaper, you stumbled there. And this was a prime example of these women stumbled here, and they must have come from a local bar. So there's not really a ton of rules about the swan boats, other than like they have to fit into a life jacket, so they can't be a baby, and they can't really be pregnant. But we had an array of life jackets, so if you fit in a life jacket and you can pay currency, there weren't many other rules. So I wasn't in the ticket booth, so whoever let these like drunk women through evaluated that they would fit in the life jacket and pay currency. So they came down to the dock. The dock person evaluated them and was like, you can fit in the kayak and you seem okay. And then I was out on the water like chilling real hard. Sometimes there would be a boat in the like harbor and I would go to touch it. Exciting times. So I had well touched the boat at that point of the day, and I saw these women kind of get in, and they were like large, proud women, excited, together, maybe like just getting drunk together, times for celebrations, I'm not sure, didn't really talk to anybody, but they were going in the water, and the normal like getting a little speed and being scared, ah! And then being cool with it. You see it every day, so it doesn't like do anything to you. And then the other lady got real close, and then they both start screaming, and then the boat tips. And up until that point, I had really only saved children, which is pretty easy, but I did go through the training to save people. But unless they fall out of the swan boat, when their kayak tips, you're taught to try your best to get them back in their own kayak. So I come over, and you know I'm chill. You know I'm chill. So I'm like, hey ladies, like, I'm Amanda, I'm gonna try and get you back in your kayak. And so I start to do that, and she's like, don't touch me! And I'm like, we didn't really talk about this in the training. I was under the assumption that most people want to be saved, especially since all the water here is all runoff from the streets and boats, and it's disgusting. And there's so much trash visible in the water right now. Ew. So I was like, all right, ma'am, like, you really don't want to be in this water, so you can hold on to my boat and I can take you to the dock, or I can help you get back into your kayak. And she's like, don't touch me, I'm gonna swim to the dock. And I'm like, the water's really deep, can't let you do that. So in all of this fury and chaos, her friend falls in as well. And I'm telling you, it's very rare, unless you, like, you know, purposely try to fall out of the kayak. These are like very beginner kayaks, really safe. Like I said, the only people I'd really ever saved were kids, and you know, they would all really play around. We would host summer camps and stuff. They kind of, like, you could tell they wanted to fall in. But they're kids, you just put them back in the kayak. I mean, between you and me, I was not going to be able to get her back into her kayak. You basically stabilize the kayak with both hands while you're in your kayak, kind of with like your legs, like, I'm wearing stirrups, but like your legs. So it got to the point where I was like, Mrs., hold on to my boat and I'll take you back to the dock. No one's watching, everyone's watching. It was kind of the scariest couple feet I'd ever paddled. They were both very heavy, very like just messy, sloppy drunks, also soaking wet. I doubt they wanted to get all their clothes wet. It's a couple years ago, they may have not had iPhones on them, so like maybe that wasn't too big of a thing. I got them back to the dock and they were like not happy about it. And then I went and I rescued their kayaks, and then, you know, then they left. And I was like, all right, I would be horrified if this happened to me, but have a great day, ladies. I would say if you fell in that water, you probably had, I don't know, 2 hours to go home and shower before the plague attacked you. But there were days, you know, that I had to be in the water. At the end of the season, we would always jump in the water. So, you know, I did all my training in the water. But at the same time, I still showered and washed everything with soap 20 times. So my final story takes place at Target. And I love Target, so don't get me wrong. So I used to live in Texas. I went to school there and I didn't like have a ton of friends, but I always liked working. I've always had a job, and I always kind of wanted to work at Target. And the only other job I really applied to when I lived in Texas was a coffee shop and a PacSun. And the PacSun called me like 2 weeks before I bought my plane ticket to go home. I was like, didn't you get my application in August? So I got a job at Target and I really, really liked it. And I was working in soft lines. And soft lines, if you don't know, it's like all the clothing, the dressing room, and I'm pretty sure like baby, the section, so like diapers and baby clothes, like that kind of like goes into baby. I don't think we had to do shoes. But anyway, so in soft lines, it was all women. That's just my experience. And I all really like them, you know. I kind of stuck out a little bit, especially in Texas, having like my septum pierced, like that was a lot then. This was 10 years ago, literally. So soft lines was cool, and like if you were antisocial, there wasn't like a huge phone culture yet, so you couldn't just like check your phone and like feel good that you have friends at home. So it wasn't until Black Friday where I was reassigned to toys that I met this lad. And he was really cool. He was like alternative. And it was kind of my first experience meeting someone alternative while I was in Texas. And I thought he was cool. I mean, you guys might know I was in love with the drummer for my band, Alejandro, while I was in Texas. But Alejandro didn't even look my way. So I was kind of like, who's this boy? He was kind of cool. You know, he had like a mohawk, but it was like, his hair was really curly. So if he didn't do his mohawk, it was just like a curl down here. And he was a natural blonde. It was like a really cool look. After I worked Black Friday with him. We kind of established a camaraderie because Black Friday is really stressful, especially at Target. And like 10 years ago, Black Friday was definitely more aggressive than it is now. Now it's still aggressive, but it's more contained because people died. After that, we would like run into each other and it was kind of cool. It's kind of like fun to have like a work friend and like maybe like a work crush. So we exchanged numbers, but like I said, like phone culture wasn't really like where it was at like now. So it's not like we texted or anything. I think I called him like on the phone once, maybe, but it was just nice to have his number. My schedule was like I went to school every day and then would work at Target because I think band was on the weekends. Our lad, our favorite lad, one day I noticed that there's like police coming in to Target. And like, I don't really care. I'm at Soft Lines hanging out. Like he would walk by sometimes in the day and be like, and I would be like, you know. So the police come and I'm like, whatever, someone's stealing. And when you know, it was him. It was the lad. So the lad had been stealing this whole time. He was stealing like electronics. And I guess they were building a case against him. And I didn't know. We had never hung out outside of work. Like desperately I wish we would have because I really didn't have any friends and it's why I moved. But it just hadn't happened yet. I mean, if we had just met on Black Friday, like it had only ever been like a couple like days since then. You know, maybe like 2 weeks maximum. I'm not ready to blossom in 2 weeks. Police come in and take him. And I don't even remember his name and I'm being super honest. So they come and they take him and I'm like, oh my god, like what is going on? Obviously he didn't let me in on his little secret, but at the time like electronics weren't even, he must have been stealing like GPSs, like electronics were not popping off in '08. So he gets arrested, whatever. I go to my car that night and I have a missed call. So I call it back and it's his dad. And his dad is like, what's going on? Blah, 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 gave me your number. And I was like, oh, yes, we are co-workers, and I believe he was caught stealing. And the dad was like, are you his girlfriend? Because tomorrow I'm gonna go down to the courthouse, I can pick you up. And in my mind I was like, that sounds like kind of some fun, a little bit of drama. Go to the courthouse, rescue my babe, who is a thief? I'm not like so into that, like, I don't know. I'll watch Natural Born Killers, but like I watch it from home. So I was like, oh, I'm not his girlfriend, I'm his co-worker. I've been talking to him for like 8 days. I have school tomorrow. I'm at church right now. And I believe his dad called me 2 more times to keep me updated on the case, which was nice of him. Like I'm at home eating like, damn, they're really gonna sentence him. What's his name again? That was so weird. I ended up moving back to Pennsylvania and I tried to transfer to another Target, but I ended up just getting my job back at McDonald's. It was much closer to like where I lived. And then a couple years later applied to another Target and got through the interview process, but because I didn't have a car, I couldn't go to the like, I guess like a doctor examines you. I don't know if they still do that, if anyone works at Target now. I had to go to a doctor's appointment after my interview and I was like, oh, I rode my bike here. And they were like, oh, we only give you a window to get to the appointment. And when I lived in Texas, everything's like, I just drove right there. But in Philly, I didn't have a car, so that was my last time with Target. But I will never forget the lad who I knew for maybe 8 days. 2 weeks seems generous because I left Texas like right before Christmas. But my heart is with him. I actually like took pictures of him. Like we had fun. If we were like on lunch break together, we would sit together. But like, I don't know. I was way closer with the girls in Soft Lines and no one even teased me about him, so it wasn't even real. That is my time at Target. I love Target, like that obviously like they handled it. You shouldn't be stealing and time again. So that was my story. But I love you guys. Let me know if you like this series. Give it a thumbs up and I'll keep pumping them out for you. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I've been making videos like this for years, so you might find something you like in the recommended bar. And I love you guys so much. Until next time, bye.